This is 15-Minute Email Academy. I'm Bob Serling, and today my guest is Brad Costanzo. Hey, Brad. Now, Brad is the host of the really popular podcast, Bacon Wrap Business, and it was recently voted one of the 35 most outstanding business podcasts by Inc. magazine. So he's doing a great job with it. Brad's a serial entrepreneur. He's started and sold businesses in multiple niches and industries, more than I can keep track of. But mainly what he does these days is he helps his clients grow their revenue through online marketing, branding strategies, and proven direct response campaigns. Brad and I are members together in a little mastermind group I started here in San Diego. So I know him well. He's a good friend, writes brilliant email, and I'm really happy to have him here as our guest today. So welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Bob. It's a big honor because I've learned, I think, probably most of the stuff in copyright. I just swipe everything you write. So when you asked me to come up with an email, I was like, well, let me go through Bob Serling's emails and just copy and paste one of those. See if you notice.
You should have just grabbed the one I sent out yesterday. Well, and obviously he's being facetious. Brad writes great emails on his own, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So let me switch over to screen sharing, bring the email up.
Yep.
And we will talk about it. Wow. I'm telling you, I got it on the first try, and that is a first.
Look, you can teach old dog news tricks. I love it.
Must have rubbed off on me. I usually mess it up. So
that's awesome.
Here's your email. Let me just set the framework with what the strategy is. Essentially, what you're doing here is you're looking to get referrals for your business.
Correct.
So what is, that's the goal of it. What's the strategy you're using to do that in this email?
So the strategy is, obviously, this is primarily my list from my podcast listeners. And the strategy here is something I call side door networking. And it's the concept that if I'm pitching directly to you, if I was to do this in person on person, if I'm pitching directly to you, you're already thinking, okay, what does this person want from me? Which is my business. So the strategy here is to kind of go in the side door and ask my list. First of all, tell them what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and who I'm looking to meet. And I'm assuming as though they are not one of my perfect prospects, but I'm just assuming that they might know somebody. And by doing this, it allows them to kind of let down their guard and go, oh, okay, this is who Brad's looking to meet. Who might I know? So I'm giving them ways to jog their brain to potentially make a referral. Now, the ultimate goal is not only to get a referral, but for them to read through the types of person or business that I'm looking to meet.
Right.
And it might be them and go, wow, maybe you can help me. So That's kind of the strategy.
Perfect. Okay, so let's use that to get into the email. I've marked blocks in red.
Cool.
Everyone can see on the screen. Can you see the email on the screen?
I sure can.
Okay, great. So the first block is your subject line. I need your brain on something.
Yes.
What's the strategy you use for writing
that
subject line that way?
So I wanted to write an email subject line that I would probably send to a real friend of mine. I notice I don't say I want to pick your brain because I actually hate that line. But I need your brain on something, and if they are my listeners, if they have any affection towards me at all, that's like, wow, I can help Brad. I can help him. Cool. Let me open this up.
Yeah.
So very natural subject line.
Right. It's very natural and it's very personal and it makes a person think, hey, Brad wants my opinion. That's pretty cool. Okay, great. So then and I'm going to refer to my notes a little bit on these blocks so I make sure I get everything in, but whoa, and there goes my seat. This second short block opens with something for the reader. You give the reader something first, and then you quickly shift to another topic.
Right.
And so, again, what's the reasoning? How did you structure it this way and decide to do it and then shift to another topic?
Sure. So obviously the very first line is just something fun and very personal. Happy Friday. But hey, if you're an entrepreneur, that's zero effect. Right. So it's just real personal. But then I let them know, look, this was true. I had released some new podcast episodes and I am reminding them who I am, because I don't email my list like daily. I'm reminding them who I am, and oh yeah, Brad has got some podcasts, and the fact that I hadn't released a new podcast or I hadn't emailed them in a while, meaning a couple of weeks. It's just a quick reminder, and here's a link that you can go listen to them. Yeah. So I'm immediately giving them some value before asking them for anything.
Right. But then there's that shift in that bold line, but that's not why I'm emailing you. And
right.
So you kind of wanted to remind them, warm them up, give them something, and then shift. Is
Bingo.
that okay? Great. So the third block then gets into the real reason for the email, and
right. Rephrasing the subject line in a slightly different way. I need your help with something, which is kind of a proven way to kind of hook somebody in, like, oh, wow, how can I help you?
Right. Great. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down here a little bit to bring up some more of it.
Cool.
So you set the stage in that block for 3. And then in number 4, I think it is a really critical block that a lot of people are almost afraid to use in their email. And I do this a lot. I know you do it a lot. And I see people like Perry Marshall, Josh Turner, a number of people who they get right to it. What you're basic, this is an important block, because what you're doing is you're qualifying exactly who you're looking for, but you're also disqualifying people that you aren't looking for.
Exactly.
So how well does it work to put a block like this and build an email around these qualifications?
Well, it works really well, and especially because one of the things that I hate is when people say, hey, can you help me introduce me to somebody? And they give you very broad strokes of what it is, and you're making me do the work. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that they don't have to do the thinking for me. So I let them know, obviously in part 3, I'm reminding them who I am a little bit more, like, hey, if you know me at all, here's who I work with, here's the types of companies, and due to some changes I've made, I now have the bandwidth to help 1 or 2 more companies. I may have the bandwidth to help more than that, but I'm giving them some very specific guidance on this. But as you see in the bullet points below, I'm taking away any guesswork about who exactly I want, and I'm trying to give them little mental hooks to go, not just, hey, I work with business owners who are trying to grow their revenue, right, or trying to get unstuck. It's like, no. Here's the sales. Here's the situation they're in. They're frustrated with slow. They're a little worried. So this might be them. It may be somebody they know that they were having beers with who was talking about how frustrated they are. So I'm just trying to paint a really, really clear picture to create those mental hooks that somebody can go, oh, you just jogged my brain.
And it does. It's a great thing to do. And again, I see people being very timid about doing this, but it's really being of service to your prospects and your potential clients, because you're not going to waste their time. You don't want to bring in a lot of people who you can't help and waste your time and say, oh, sorry, I wish I could, but you're not within the sweet spot that I work with. So it's very specific, very to the point, and it's done in a nice, natural way. All right.
Thank you.
So let's roll down. So the 5th block is your call to action, and it's really simple and it's non-salesy. And again, why did you write it in this very comfortable conversational way?
That's part of that is just my natural style, and that's the way that I like to be sold to. And I like to keep it as just really like a personal email from 1-to-1. That was some of the earliest copywriting training I ever got was just write it like you're writing to your ideal prospect or your best friend. And that's why I say, if any of these cause someone to pop into your mind, just make an introduction. And then I say in each and every case, I might have a very unique and effective solution for them and would like to see if there's a fit. So I'm using softening language. Like I'm not saying that I have a one size fits all and that it's absolutely going to be perfect, but it's let's explore this. And once more, I think that it softens it up and it removes the kind of the harshness.
And it also humanizes you.
Humanizes it.
I'm not the guru who has the answer for everybody. I'm able to help you if you can. If that's the right fit, great. And if not, I'll let you know. I mean, that's what's implied in that, and it's very strong. Okay, so block number 6 is an interesting block. for two reasons. I mean, you open this block by offering to reward the reader for any relationships that come of this, but then you instruct them. It's a great, and again, it's a soft instruction. It doesn't say print this out now. It says feel free to print those out and let me know if something pops into your noggin. And again, very casual, very one-to-one language. But what's the strategy here behind advising them or suggesting that they print it out?
That kind of just popped into my mind, where I was thinking like, well, I mean, this is actually really useful stuff. Like print, I would love if somebody actually printed that out and put it next to them. That's, you know, they're much more likely to see it rather than having to refer back to an email. Now, only one or two people may have printed it out, but those are going to be the absolutely most likely to ever refer me business. And like we know with the call to action and in telling people what to do, sometimes you have to spoon feed them and tell them exactly what to do and give them ideas they might not have ever have had. That's going to make it easier for them to refer me business. And on the rewarded handsomely part, this is kind of a what's in it for me. And I leave it very broad. I don't let them know exactly what it is. Hey, I'll give you $1,000 for every client. I just say it'll be rewarded handsomely. And I create a little bit of mystery and intrigue, I think, with that to go, wonder what that could be. Let's find out.
Right. And I think what's really interesting, and I'd like the viewers to know, is when you include a line like this, feel free to print those out, and people do it, anytime you can get people to take a positive action, they're much more prone to take the next step and actually refer people. So it's a great mechanism there as well.
Thank you.
All right. So then we wrap up with the PS, which is also quite unique. And what's the purpose of this type of invitation PS that you're using?
So the entire thing prior to this was really about who else do they know. And remember, I was going in the side door. It had nothing to do about them. So now I'm swinging back around and letting them know that I actually do care about them as well. But it's almost an afterthought. Like, by the way, what do you do? Are you a business owner? Do you want to be? Are you an executive somewhere? What's your story? And this actually created several emails with people who wanted to tell me about themselves. And remember, I wasn't asking them for their problems. It was just me. Tell me about you. And we all know that everybody's favorite subject is themselves.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give them the opportunity to do that. And then I tell them, look, just hit reply. I actually read these, which you have to sometimes remind people in these days of cynical business owners thinking that an autoresponder is just an autoresponder. But once more, it's another call to action. So I've got multiple calls to actions. Number one, think about who you know. Number two, make an introduction. Number three, print this out. And number four, tell me about yourself. And each one of them is slightly different, very soft. And the whole idea here was just to create an opening in the conversations and getting people to communicate back with me.
Yeah, and there's a warmth to that. Just hit reply. I actually read these. It says, I'm a human being. I'm really sending this to you. It's not a robot. I read them. It is me, and that's a great way to wrap it up. All right, so let me shift out of screen share for a second. Bring it back to us. Here we are. So my final question is, how do people find out more about you, more about the Bacon Wrap Business Podcast and what you do?
Well, the easiest way, I mean, obviously you can go to baconwrapbusiness.com, but one of the best ways is just shoot me an email and let me know about you. Shoot me an email to askbrad@baconwrapbusiness.com, and I will automatically send you a reply with a little bit more about me and some really cool links, as well as a link to the podcast so you can subscribe on iTunes or online or wherever. But just ask Brad at baconwrapbusiness.
Great, and I'll be sure to include that in the show notes, so anybody watching, you can see it right below.
I figured since we were talking about email, I should give out my email, right?
Hey, why not? Okay. So yeah, and you'll be on 250 spam lists tomorrow.
Exactly.
All right, well, Brad, this has been great. I knew you'd knock it out of the park. Thanks very much for spending time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, great.